Good morning, everyone, from Dunrovin Ranch in Lolo, Montana, on a rather foggy and cool October day. This may be one of the last few days that we have with temperatures above freezing. We're looking for a major change in weather this week. And in fact, as we all know, our good friend Brandon Carpenter is due to arrive around noon today, but I'm fearful he may be just a little bit late. He woke up to 11 inches of snow at his ranch, and his ranch is a long ways away. He'll have to go over 3 different passes to get to Lolo. And I know that he's hauling a horse for somebody, so the roads are treacherous, at least in his part of the state, and so we may have to give him a little extra time to get here. At any rate, I'm here today to talk with you about some of the birds that we see at Dunrovin. And today I have chosen the great blue herons. This last weekend, I think it was on Saturday evening, we had a great opportunity to see a great blue heron very near the camera. And I'm going to have to confess to those of you who saw it with me that I did not make a recording of it. In fact, we had an equipment failure here at Dunrovin, and I was relying on something, a piece of equipment to make the recording automatically for me, and it didn't. So if any of you have a YouTube recording of that wonderful visit from our wonderful friend, the great blue heron, you can see a photo of him right here. This is the one that we took. He was very close. This was as close as we've had a great blue heron to the camera that stayed for any distance, any time. So if you do, send me a link to your YouTube video. I'd love to have a copy of it. At any rate, great blue herons are definitely a feature of Dunrovin, and a delightful feature at that. We don't have a rookery around Dunrovin, at least I've never seen one, but I have seen some of the herons roosting here at Dunrovin, and it would be just terrific if a rookery were to form somewhere in the neighborhood. I remember this last summer, we did see several great blue herons at the same time. So we know there's more than one around here because we've seen them together. In fact, we've seen them kind of tussle with one another, chase each other up and down the river for prime fishing spots. At any rate, we're just delighted to have great blue herons with us. And one of the things I most like about doing these bird chatters with all of you is I do just a little bit of research, enough to make myself dangerous, and I always learn something that I did not know about great blue herons. So let's walk through what I have learned, okay? So first of all, let's look at the distribution. And I did not understand that there are some mountain ranges. You'll see that in the breeding season in the Appalachians, the breeding season extends down the Appalachia, but that's not where they are there for all seasons. And it used to be in some of the maps that you'll see, there's a similar kind of a tail in the Rocky Mountains. In fact, some maps show that we should not have herons here all year round, but in fact we do. And I know that many of you have delighted, as have I, in watching great blue herons during the winter. And I've always wondered about that, since the river sometimes freezes, and I've seen great blue heron down there by the river, standing next to the frozen edge of the river, and finding these little leads of open water that enable them to find a meal. At any rate, we have the very northern part is great blue herons are there only during the breeding season. And then for the majority of the United States, they are available all summer, all year long. And then farther south, they are only found during the winter seasons. Wonderful, beautiful birds. They eat primarily fish, but they'll eat a lot of other things. Shrimp, crab, all kinds of aquatic insects, amphibians, frogs, snakes, etc. And also small mammals and birds. And I did not get a video of this, but I know that Love is watching, and I'll just bet you anything she did. And if you do, Love, share it with everybody, please. But one time we had a great blue heron show up on the bench and stand for hours over the gopher holes. I mean, one of the things you're going to notice if you watch great blue herons is they are birds of patience. They stand stock still, just as quiet as they possibly can be. And I remember this great blue heron standing there on one leg at a time, right over the hole of a ground squirrel. And I do believe he got one there because he came back several times after that. This was several summers ago. But I was always surprised to see a great blue heron set up, in an area like that, hunting specifically for ground squirrels. So they're voracious hunters, and they're very effective. And I want you to notice this heron over on the left, and you'll see how the fish is going down its gullet head first. And a little bit later, I have a video, and we can watch the great blue heron position the fish just so it can swallow it whole. I mean, it's really pretty interesting that these guys are able to do that. And you can see the bulge in their neck as the prey just goes right down whole. Okay. As I mentioned, great blue herons roost in trees, and we've had them roost here right in our backyard. I have spent evenings sitting on the deck watching a great blue heron up in the cottonwood trees. And it's always amazed me that this big bird with this huge wingspan can get themselves into and out of the crowded tree limbs, but they're quite capable of doing it. And they also roost in trees in groups called rookeries. I wish we had one right here along the Bitterroot River. We don't, but the photo on the far right, lower right, was taken at a rookery on the Clark Fork River, which is about 30 miles upriver from the Hellgate Osprey's Nest. It's a very prolific rookery, and famous in this parts of Montana. People drive over to see the herons during the breeding season. And I also want to report that we have a very active rookery with, I would say, at least a dozen or more birds south of Dunrovin at a place called the it's a wildlife center, a wildlife area, and is it a Teller? No, it's a Lee Metcalf, Lee Metcalf Wildlife Refuge, which is just south of here about 15 miles. It's a great place to watch birds, particularly great blue herons. And here is something that I did not understand, and I just learned, is that in part of their range, great blue herons, those east of the Rocky Mountains and in the northern part of their range, up in the New Brunswick and in Canada, in southern Canada, they migrate. And I did not understand this, but they're about the only population that migrates. And several years ago, they put a radio collar on a great blue heron, a female that they called Harper, and she flew nonstop for 38 hours all the way from northern New Brunswick down to Florida, and spent the winter in Florida and then came back the next breeding season. That's a long flight, a single flight. So some great blue herons do migrate, but those in Montana do not. All right, let's take look at a few videos that we have here taken at Dunrovin. And this one is not, several of these are not the best quality because the great blue heron was at the very extent of the web camera range, but they really show the behavior and what good fishermen they are. So here is a great blue heron that showed up one night. I happened to have a sleepless night, and I came out to the web camera and started playing with the river camera, as I am wont to do. And I found this great blue heron, and you'll enjoy this little video. Look how patient and slow their movements are. And it scores right in the middle of the night. That's a good sized fish. Now, what's interesting about this is that this great blue heron was not alone at this time on this part of the beach. Now you can see the heron bringing the fish ashore, in part to get it in the right position to be able to swallow it. Now, if you'll notice, there are a pair of eyes up in the upper left-hand corner. A group of raccoons have discovered the great blue heron with its fish. There's a little bit of a standoff here. They're eyeing each other. The raccoon's eyes look like flashlights with the reflection off the infrared light from the web camera. The heron's not quite sure what to do. Puts its fish down to reposition it, and that fish is fighting for its life, clearly. Now it's on the beach, wiggling around. And the heron gets it in just the right position, and watch this. And down it goes, all the way. You can see it in its neck. What a way to go, huh? Then it goes out, and I think it's going to clean its beak. And as I said, these films are not the best because it was night, and it's hard to keep the camera focused at night. You've got a lot of issues going on. But hang in there. It gets better here in a moment. Here we go. got my eye on the chat, and I'm really interested in your comment, Celia, that they will wait for the catfish to die before eating them. I did not know that. Okay, so here you've got those raccoons coming now. You can see them making their way through the bushes and along the water. And the heron, of course, is aware of them as well. You can still see that fish in the in the neck of the heron. Now the raccoons are no threat to the heron, but they would have been a threat to the heron's fish, that's for sure. This is what I love about having these web cameras. You get to see these little encounters in nature that you never would be able to see without them. So right here in the middle of the night, I happened to get up and here was this little drama going on at the beach. You can see there are raccoons fairly clearly now. The heron's a little reluctant to leave its successful fishing spot. But the raccoons are really making it hard for the heron. And then there goes the heron. Little midnight drama at Dunrovin. Okay. Here we have another very successful fishing trip by great blue heron. And again, this is a little bit fuzzy because it's at the very extent of the camera's reach. But I want you to notice how big this fish is. It's incredible, my goodness. And this was last winter, and I think all of us got accustomed to seeing the great blue heron in this particular spot. This was a very successful place. This heron returned and returned and returned to this spot, which is north of here. Now look at the size of this fish. That is one big fish. And it lets it go because it's not in the right position. And catches it again. And again, I apologize for how pixelated this is, but you can see pretty clearly what's happening. Lets it go, catches it again. Ah, now it's in the right position. Now watch this. This is pretty phenomenal in my book. That's a big fish. And down it goes. Whole. Cleans its beak. Okay, now I zoomed in with a digital zoom just to give you another view of this, how big this fish was in comparison to the body of the heron. It's a massive fish. This swallowing it whole just amazes me that it can do this. Okay, so now this last video was taken a long time ago, as you can see, in 2014, and this is from a series of cameras from the Osprey Nest camera and from the ranch camera. And this was an unusual thing. I had never seen a great blue heron challenge the osprey's nest, but I do believe that had the adults not been there, that the osprey would have landed and taken the chicks. These are pretty fierce birds, so let's take a look at this. You'll see it from various perspectives. This is when our original Aussie was with us. This is Aussie's last year. So here comes Harriet. And the chicks are pretty big. Look at the two chicks. You can see Aussie on a pole to the lower left. And you'll see he takes off when she takes off. There he goes. He departs first. And then Harriet joins him. And then pretty soon you'll see, there you go, the great blue heron. They're both chasing it. And watch the massive wingspan of that great blue heron. There you go. What a big bird. at what those chicks do right down on the deck. There you go. Camouflage those chicks are against the background of the nest. You can see a little of the aerial flight in slow motion. Well, that's all I have today for the Great Blue Heron. I want to thank you for joining me. And don't hesitate to make a suggestion in the chat box about birds that you'd like me to talk about in the future. We've had a lot of interesting birds come and go here at Dunrovin, and I'm happy to do a little PowerPoint about any of the birds that we've seen here at Dunrovin. So give me some suggestions, and I'd be happy to follow through. If there aren't any other questions or comments, I would go ahead and sign off. I agree, Celia. I'm missing our little osprey chick, our little one this year, Lucky, but he was quite the chick. Every year we've had more than one, except the 2 years where we had none at all. This was the first year we've had only one. So I will say goodbye with that, and I want to thank you for joining us on our Monday socials. Please stay around. Brandon Carpenter will be here when he gets here, somewhere around 1 o'clock this afternoon, and he's going to be working with Ashley to help train Ashley how to get Augie going and get him trained. And then from here on out, we'll be doing some teletraining with Brandon, and I know everybody will really enjoy that. So with that, I am going to say goodbye and thank you all for joining me. Bye.